Hello there, fellow humans, and welcome to this video. And today I want to talk about the Somua SM because it is in the shop for a completely ridiculous and dumb price at 15,000. So, what we can already establish that the bundle is stupid because any tier 8 tank that is sold for over 10,000 gold is an absolute waste of money. And that is simply a fact of life because for this same amount of money you could get the 121B, which is the tier 10. And the most expensive tier 8 I would ever buy would be the T482, and that was sold for 10,000, and it's also the best tier 8, so that is somewhat justified in that regard. But 15,000 for a tank that is worse than a T482 and costs 5k more? No. That is an absolute no right there. The bundle is dumb. Please don't buy it. You are absolutely getting ripped off if you buy that bundle. But then, we talked about the bundle, let's talk about the tank itself, and before we do that, please don't forget to like and subscribe, obviously, because that's very nice. Now, it is very much like the MX 5100, however, it is a lot more armored. You have over 200mm on the turret, however, you have these cheeks that can be pinned quite easily. You also have a cupola. The front is angled quite well, but the sides are very flat and also very weak, so you can be pinned through that. Obviously, lower plate is a weak spot in any tank, so there is that. Against tier 7s, you're going to have a very good time. Against tier 8s and tier 9s with premium ammo, you're basically paper. So there is that with premium ammo, by the way. 1.8k DPM, which is obviously horrible. However, 3-second clip, 930 damage in 6 seconds. That's not too bad, so you can kind of ignore the DPM a bit. Obviously, it would be nice if it at least have 2,000, but hey, this is Wargaming. Then, the penetration on the AP is very, very good. The APCR... that's alright. The step up isn't very big, so you won't need a lot of APCR here. It is also decently accurate. It has 10 degrees of gun depression, which is always a nice thing to have. And the mobility is decent. So, in terms of the equipment, that's how I do it. Improved ventilation is essentially useless, unfortunately. With how little it does, you know, you get 30 more DPM. So, that is a bit sad. But yeah, now, let's get it to the Somua. Let's play a few battles. So let's get into it. It's a tier 9 battle, so it's going to be pretty much the most challenging thing that you're going to experience in this thing. Obviously you could have 6 tier 9s, but hey, who judges? So, we're going to go to the middle, obviously. Never go city in any tank, ever. Unless you're like a light tank at the end of the battle flanking, then you can use it tactically, but if you go there at the beginning of the battle, you're just not very smart. And that is simply something that I've come to know over the years, that if you go city, you're most likely shit. So, don't do that. Yup. That is very good for us. That is very, very good for us. That's not good though. Now, let's go back. Now, obviously, you can see, you can't really rely on the armor too much. So, you still can't expect this thing to bounce all the shots, right? It's not a very well-armored heavy tank. It has decent armor, but you still can't rely on it too much because the angles aren't that great, and you can still be pinned in the cheeks here, and with premium ammo in the upper plate. It's a Borsig. He missed. Damn. I mean, the accuracy, it's alright. You can snapshot decently with it, which is nice. Always. You know, because the better you can snapshot with a tank, the easier it is to get out of danger with it. And now, the 130 PM is already dead. The T2020 and the Borsig are there. T69 is going to push in. So, T2020 should be dead about now, ideally. There we go. And now, well, what can they do? They can't do anything. They're dead. They lost. They lost by the simple fact of going city. Look at that, it's 2 minutes, 3 of them are dead. You know? It's that easy. You know, if your team isn't throwing, then the enemy going city is basically a free gift to win. Obviously, you still gotta convert that gift, but still. Okay, now, gonna reload again. The reload's quite long, so I wouldn't really recommend you to go too aggressive. You know, always try to have someone for backup, so that in case you're reloading, you can't get pushed directly. So try to have someone near you as backup. Don't just go alone, because then obviously you can get clipped quite easily. Try and make it bounce off the front plate, or shoot the ICU. It helps as well. He's dead. There's only 2 left. And ideally, I can get 2 clips off, but probably this is going to be the last one, so we're going to make it count. Right here. Onto the VK. There we go. 3,000 damage. Not too bad. And now we're going to have to try to reload. He's trying to shoot me. What the hell? What are you doing, mate? Anyway. Anyway. Oh, they don't have object permanence yet. He's gonna die to the ICU because the ICU reloads faster than me. And that is it for the first one. 3k damage, as you can see. You know, what you should learn from this battle. It isn't a fully frontline tank, mainly because of the gun, but also because of the armor. And don't go city, because then that happens. And now we get to the second battle here. It's a replay from one of my streams, so if you haven't checked out my streams yet, then you can, or you don't, I don't know. And this is a tier 7 battle, so this is obviously a lot easier. There's less damage on the field, yes, but there is also less fighting back at you, obviously, because if that juicy big target is a Moiskin, sure, it has more hit points, but it's also going to fight back a lot harder than an M41 Bulldog. So I'd say in a lower tier battle, it's a lot easier to do well than a higher tier battle, because you know they're weaker. Especially tier 7s are kind of shit most of the time, so that helps very nicely. And now what also helps, again, the enemy is a city. That also helps greatly to make this thing a win, because if you go city, you basically reduce your chance from winning from a 50-50 to at least a 40-60. That doesn't sound too bad, but that is the difference between 60 win rate and 40 win rate, right? So, obviously, it's never gonna go like that, because when you're in the field, you gotta then use it properly, but you still have a massive advantage if you go there, and also if you go to the middle of the map as well. And that simply comes down to the fact that the more of the map you control, the more you can move around, the better it is to reposition, and the better it is to change positions. And you can't simply do that in the city because there's a lot more dumb angles, and most of the angles in the cities are just 90 degrees. Like here, for example, you have a tiny piece of rubble, but that isn't going to protect you, so you essentially just have no advantage for peeking, and people can just corner camp you, which is obviously not very nice. But yeah, now 3 of them are already dead again in 2 minutes, which is, you know, normal these days. But yeah, now I'm gonna push the MX, who doesn't... He's trying to side scrape, which I commend him for, but he's gotta try a bit harder to actually make it work. And, well, maybe one day he'll have a tank that he can actually side scrape, and maybe he'll pull it off. Not that tank, though, and also not the Somua, because the side armor is, I think, 90mm. So, if you have a very, very steep angle, it's gonna work, but I wouldn't try it most of the time. You can out of desperation, but it's not a reliable tactic for this tank either. Basically, like I said in the first battle, you gotta be the asshole. You gotta find a gap in your team, and then push through it, and then unload, and then hide again. Basically, it's not that great at that thing because obviously it's not very fast. So a 5100 is better at doing that. But nonetheless, I'd say it is a good tank. As you can see, it can do its role well. However, a price for this thing, if I had to set one, I would put it around 8k and not 15k. So, it is a good tank. However, there is no point in buying it whatsoever. So yeah, that is it for today. Thank you very much for watching. See you for the next one. Goodbye.